Hey YouTube, and welcome to another... What the fuck's the name of this show? Hello YouTube, I'm Bill Robertson. Welcome to another edition of LATECOMER. Today, I am at the illustrious Russell's house.
Hello.
And we have just watched The Uninvited. 1944's haunted house story.
Whew, my mind is still reeling.
I just bought this from Criterion's flash 50% sale. My girlfriend watched it a while ago and told me how cool it was, and I went with her recommendation and bought it without ever hearing or seeing anything about it, and I'm happy. I like it. What did you think, Russell?
It is meant to confuse, but it is a great, good old-fashioned ghost story.
The Uninvited, the Criterion Collection Blu-ray. Comes with a great, big, thick book full of essay all about the movie. There's not a lot of special features on the disc itself. There was a little...
It's like a slideshow talking about mostly the main actor, the brother...
Ray Milland, it talks about him, it talks about Gail Russell, and that's really about, it just kind of talks about their careers.
No commentary.
No commentary. There's not very much on here. It's a nice new 2K digital restoration, which I didn't think the picture quality was all that fantastic. Watching it on a PS4 on a high def screen, and the picture was a little grainy, I thought, but whatever. It's an old 1944 movie, so I'm not gonna harp on the picture quality. What we need to harp on is the subtext of The Uninvited.
Whoa.
It's about a brother and sister who live together, and they buy a house on the cliffs of Ireland, overlooking the sea. And it's just kind of strange.
There's undertones of incest.
There's a lot of things that when this came out in 1944, you got to wonder if the audience even caught on to, because it was a more innocent time. And now in 2017, Russell and I's perverted minds went right to the incest. They're living like a happily married couple, and they go in this house and the sister falls in love with it and she wants to buy it, and he's like, well, I don't know about that. But it's very much like they're married. You wouldn't know they were brother and sister unless they come out and say it. So,
and they do.
They clear that up. They clear that up pretty early. But if that little bit was left out,
yeah, it would be. Yeah,
they were just a married couple.
Totally true. But they're sleuthy.
The brother tries to be more traditional, more realistic, I guess, and ignore a lot of these things. But
the skeptic.
Yeah, but once they buy the house and they get moved in, the very first night that he's there, there's disturbances. He hears laughing just before dawn, and he gets up, and his sister's out there too, and she's been staying there for a week already, and she's already heard this stuff. Didn't tell him. The brother tries to rationalize it and explain it away. The sister, however, she's just kind of like, nope, this is haunts.
And a little bit of a correction that you can just recap that briefly by saying it's not laughing that they're hearing, it's sobbing.
That's
they're
right.
Sobbing in the morning.
That's right.
Early morning.
Early morning hours, sobbing right before dawn. Now, the house, they've purchased it from an old man who's inherited it from his grandmother. His daughter lived there, and she died there, not in the house. She fell off the cliff outside the house, and presumably she is still haunting the house. The granddaughter doesn't want the house to be sold to this couple,
because the granddaughter, whose name is Stella Meredith,
she feels connected to her mother through the house.
Yes.
Although she's never allowed to go there. Grandfather refuses to let her go there. But what we find out is it's kind of a twisted love triangle. There's not one ghost. There's two ghosts, both women, and both of them were involved with the same man, the husband. It's really complicated, and I don't want to get into the plot. I want to talk about the goofy stuff, really. Go
ahead.
Now, not only was it the odd brother-sister incestual overtones, there was also implied, well, not just implied, but there's lesbianism going on in this movie as well, which has to do with
Pretty upfront.
Yeah, with the mother who died falling off the cliff. She is survived by her good friend, her dear friend, who seems to be holding a candle for her.
My darling is the line that is used by, oh gosh, who is it? It's Miss Holloway.
Miss Holloway, who has the sanitarium or whatever.
She's the head of the Mary Meredith retreat.
Right. And now not only is it implied that those two had some sort of a lesbian relationship, it's also very heavily implied that there's witchcraft going on.
Yeah. I mean, and we're fine with all of this stuff. We just really dig that it is so pretty much, it's very upfront about it.
It makes me wonder, like in 1944 when this came out, it did really well at the box office apparently. It was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Cinematography, however it lost to Laura?
Yeah.
Laura, an Alfred Hitchcock movie in the same year. The movie did really well, which means a lot of people saw it and liked it. But in 1944, a much simpler and more pure, more chaste time in America. It makes me wonder how it was received, like this implied incest. The implied, not just implied, but it was pretty clearly spelled out lesbianism. And I can understand how the witchcraft was covered up, because back then witchcraft was very scary, satanic, you don't do it. Everybody in America was pretty much on board being good Christians.
Christian values.
So anything not Christian was automatically satanic. Witchcraft is satanic. And
that's still in there. You still get snippets of it. Mary, who is the woman in the portrait, and then there's Carmel, who is the model that stands in for Mary for whatever reason, but that a child was conceived.
Let's explain that triangle, because that basically explains the witchcraft. So, the wife and her husband live in this house.
Yes, it's called Windwood House.
Windwood House. The husband is an artist. He paints. He's painting portraits of his wife. And these portraits are scattered through the movie. The wife's friend, Miss Holloway, has one in her office, a huge portrait of the wife. Her daughter Stella has one of the paintings of her mother. So there's all these paintings. So the husband is an artist. The part that smacks of witchcraft, but doesn't come right out and say it, is they had to hire a model for him to paint his wife. So he was painting his wife, but they hired a model, Carmel, a Spanish model named Carmel, to come in for him to paint her. He ends up having an affair with her, gets her pregnant. The wife doesn't seem to have a problem with this, sends the model off to Paris to have the baby. Then they bring the baby back as her own. Carmel, who they thought they'd left safely in Paris, misses the baby, comes back for her baby, and apparently just in time, because she's about to get thrown off a cliff, which sounds to me like a satanic witchcraft sacrifice to the devil kind of thing. But instead, the wife gets thrown off the cliff. And the whole backstory, the whole town, the family, everybody is gaslighted into thinking that Carmel was some sort of...
a bad woman.
She was bad. What did they call her? They called her a gypsy.
Yep.
An evil gypsy. And really what she was doing was she was doing the right thing. She was coming back to save her baby. And from this woman, Mary Meredith, it's implied that she's a lesbian and a witch, seems like she's trying to throw the kid off the cliff in front of the house.
To gain more power.
Which isn't really spelled out at all in the movie. It's just kind of there in undertones. And her lesbian lover, Miss Holloway, was what did they call her? Trained nurse?
The trained nurse.
Her and the wife were tight. It was implied that they had some sort of lesbian relationship going on. Now, the wife, Mary Meredith, takes the baby and goes to toss it off the cliff. Its real mother, Carmela, comes back, saves it, and shoves Mary Meredith off the cliff instead. Now, Mary Meredith's good friend, Miss Holloway, who was a trained nurse at the Neighbors at the time, in present day, she's now the head of this sanitarium, a mental rest home. But what seems to have happened is the plan backfired, the spell backfired.
However.
By Mary Meredith dying instead.
Yeah.
Miss Holloway seems to have gained the benefits of the spell.
There was still a sacrifice. It wasn't the child.
The child
is still a sacrifice.
Right.
And Miss Holloway
seems to have reaped the benefits. She's gone from trained nurse, in other words, somebody who's just been shown how to take care of somebody, I guess, not really gone to school.
How to care for the elderly. So
right. So 12 years later, now she's the head of this big institute. she's the one who's trying to keep all of this hush hush under control. She's got the grandfather all wrapped up and neatly under control.
He kind of worships her.
Right.
Just like she worships Mary.
And it's the only reason that he can talk to her is because she's the only person who understands that this house has some sort of evil power, especially over his granddaughter Stella. And he's very worried about his granddaughter Stella going there because he feels like the house has some sort of ill will towards her.
Try to kill her.
So he feels like the only person he can talk to, because everybody else he talks to about the house, oh no, it's not haunted, you're crazy. But really, he knows there's something wrong.
And it's stated in the film when he's talking to Roderick.
Right. He knows something's wrong, and the only person he can talk to is this Miss Holloway, who was lesbian friends with his daughter.
Yeah.
So somehow she reaped the benefits of the human sacrifice in the witchcraft part of this movie, which isn't really talked about. It's just it's laid out. These things are laid out, but they're not discussed. And that's how all the ghost and hauntings happen, is because Stella, her mother died, and shortly afterwards her real mother died, Carmela. And both women died there at the house, and they both haunt the place because they're still in competition. Mary Meredith wants to keep everything quiet. This ghost wants to keep everything quiet. She's evil. She still wants to kill Stella.
She wants to kill the baby.
Right. She still wants to kill the baby, while as Carmela's ghost is there, and Carmela wants to keep her daughter safe.
And wants the truth to be known.
And at the end, when all the truth is finally revealed, then the ghosts are liberated. Well, Carmela's liberated when Stella finds out that she's her real mother. Her supposed mother, Mary Meredith, has to be chased out by Ray Milland at the end by, you've got no more power here. We know the truth now. Be gone. He throws a candlestick at her. She disappears, and everybody lives happily ever after. Even the weird incestual relationship between the brother and sister is now broken up because the sister's found the doctor.
Yes.
And
strange.
She's got a healthy relationship with a good, smart man and upstanding citizen of the town. And her brother now has a relationship with young Stella, who's got to be like less than half his age.
He is pretty, wow.
But he's the one who breaks her out of the spell. Like, this is basically a fairy tale, like Cinderella.
It's like Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty put together.
Especially Sleeping Beauty, and
a strange version of it.
Even Roderick says in the movie, he says, "Oh, I thought I broke the spell, her strange Sleeping Beauty spell." He says that at one point.
Something like that, yeah. And he's portrayed as, the knight, the big strong man that's going to save. He's the strong, rational man. Yep. Save the damsels.
He's the good Christian man, even though he's living with his sister like they're married. So it's basically a Sleeping Beauty story. The girl, who's still a girl, even though she's 20, she's still a child because she doesn't know who her mother is. She's confused.
She's obsessed. And with the intervention of Roderick, Ray Milland's character, he's her knight in shining armor who wakes her up from this slumber of childhood, and by the end, she's blossomed into womanhood and happily ever after. That's the end. That's another good point, because because the character of Roderick Fitzgerald initially does not like Stella at all, and poo-poos her and puts her off as a, someone who's just trying to
treats her like a child too.
Yeah,
treats her like a little kid.
Ends up falling in love with her, and during that whole story thread, you see some very suggestive themes in there of how she goes from being an innocent to kind of knowing what it's like to.
He writes a song for her.
Yeah,
Stella by Starlight. I guess it became a big hit.
Yeah.
At the time, because of this movie, he wrote, the Ray Milland character wrote this piano piece for her, and she said, "I think that's the greatest thing anybody's ever said to me," basically. And at that point, that's when she starts to wake up, and immediately the ghost of her supposed mother, Mary Meredith, possesses Stella. This is her chance. She's got to throw her off the cliff right now, and she runs out of the house possessed, and she runs for the cliff, and luckily Ray Milland doesn't stumble over the dead corpse in the middle of the lawn.
Scratched our heads all 3 times and we saw that scene, and we're just like,
it's the only time it's in there.
In the yard?
One shot where they're running out, she runs out possessed, about to throw herself off the cliff, Ray Milland runs out after her, and there's this lump of something in the front lawn. Good thing he didn't trip over it, or he would have been too late and she would have been dead and the movie would have been over in a half an hour. But anyway, that's the Uninvited Criterion Blu-ray. Like I said, it's more of a head scratcher than anything, but it's a good movie.
It is.
Well
shot, very beautifully shot.
Yep, the cinematography was nominated.
Hard shadows were great.
Yep, it's got some of that film noir dark and shadow in it.
And it is a ghost story. It's a haunted house movie. It has actual ghosts. All the things, a lot of the points that are made within the movie are true. Everybody's speculating, but it's truth. Everything is like it's like
a genuine ghost story. It's not like some kind of Scooby-Doo, like, it's actually Mr. Jessup, the neighbor.
Yep, everything builds up to, and everything makes sense at the end, especially after repeated viewing. So watch it 2 or 3 times, like us, and you get the intricacies and the conspiracies.
It's a movie for studying. It really is, because you can watch it several times and keep trying to figure out what is going on here. That's what we did. We watched it over and over again. And I wish that I had read the booklet that comes with the Blu-ray. It's got a lot of essay in it, I'm assuming, about the movie. So,
you lazy bum.
I should probably read this. I probably should have already read this. But yes, it's very cool. Gail Russell, interesting thing about her is this was her first movie, and she was dead within 12, 15 years of liver failure. She started drinking on the set of The Uninvited because she was painfully shy. She had stage fright. So she went on to drink herself to death, which is sad because she did a really good job. She was very pretty. A lot of interesting things about this movie. So highly recommended from Russell and I. Thank you for joining us and listening to our babble. Next time we do a latecomer, we'd like it to be on The Thief of Baghdad from 1940.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I have not seen that.
An early Technicolor English film.
Should be fun.
Hopefully we get to do that one next. Anyway, The Uninvited, highly recommended by Russell and I, and we'll see you next time on Latecomer.